All right, Cousin Tone. This is the episode that we've all been waiting for. We got double trouble, which means that we're going to have double the fun tonight. So, these two brilliant ladies are the hosts of the hottest and most original podcast in the hobby today. And it is an honor to have on with us Miss Reckless herself, Courtney Reckline, or as I like to put it, the one who wears the pants in her marriage, and the incomparable Sarah, aka Mrs. Squirts Cards, the original Mrs. Breaker herself. Now, these two lovely young ladies have teamed up to host one of my favorite podcasts out there, the Dangerous Games Podcast, where they take a deep dive into sports crime and how these crimes impact the card market. I'm hooked, brother, and I know you are too. So let's have them on and give us a background. Miss Courtney, go ahead and tell us about yourself.
Hey everyone. So I have two passions, and one is sports cards and collectibles, and then the other one is I am like really into true crime. I have been for my whole life. I think my mom got me addicted to it. And I just decided I thought it would be fun to kind of meld those together. And I jokingly posted one day that we should. And then this lovely, gorgeous, stunning, beautiful, the most perfect woman, honestly, in the world, reached out to me and she was like, yes, we should do this. And that is Sarah.
Wherever I'm at.
I can't, it's reversed.
She's here.
There you go. So, Sarah, tell us about yourself.
Alrighty. Well, my name is Sarah. I guess I could say my last name. It's hemmed.
Nobody else can say it.
I know. Well, it's like you hemmed clothes. So for me, cards collecting is huge for us. I grew up in sports, playing sports myself, football and soccer, and my husband, Mr. E himself, was a cage fighter and wrestled and went to Junior Olympics. So kind of falls in our family. But other than that, when it comes to true crime, yes. I'm usually working with Snapped On, and he's always so happy to see that. I'm learning how to help him leave this earth quicker.
Be a better husband.
Well,
just teach him how to be a better husband.
I have had no issues since I've started. I'm kidding. He is still alive.
Allegedly. I mean, they're in Montana, so who knows?
Well, grizzly bears.
Yeah.
It's so like Carol Baskin, but bears instead of tigers.
Tigers. Oh yeah, I'm not Joe Exotica. I'm Squirt Exotica, and I have. But no, I love true crime. I've always been into it. I actually wanted to be a criminal psychologist when I was younger.
Nice.
But something about like 20,000 years of school wasn't my thing. I actually am a paralegal. I'm a licensed paralegal. And so I love law. And so crime, law go hand in hand. I wanted to be an attorney, but I had kids. Maybe one day, but not right now. It's not. I like to do the paper pushing and the research. So doing this podcast was something that was really like awesome. You get to dive into two things I love: sports and law. Honestly, crimes, unsolved crimes. You don't really realize a lot of the backgrounds of these players until you really dive into their livelihoods and why they're not here anymore. So I love it. It's something it's been a lot of work. I mean, This isn't like something I can't lie. Courtney and I do finish our podcast paperwork the day of, but the week before we know what we want to do. Yeah. So, I mean,
just procrastinating a little bit.
We're just busy gals. And
we have I have two other podcasts that
and that's what I wanted to say. Like you guys, you have Reckless, you have the Hobby Night School, you got your man Courtney's husband, Too Thick. I'll never say his name until he apologizes. So
He's never gonna apologize.
Yeah, so he'll forever be known as Courtney's husband. Now you are Mrs. Squirts and you're the original Mrs. Breaker. What does that mean?
Well, for me, I'm the original breaker on Instagram. And so when I came into the hobby breaking in 2019, and there was no other women at that time that were solely doing it themselves, not attached to a shop, not attached to something like that. Now, was there? There's possibly other people that might have been like side pieces doing it at that time, but I don't think that there was anybody that was just them, nobody else. And I know Sarah Layton was breaking too, but I don't know at that time. I don't know where that transfold did. I can't speak. Almost hiccup. That's why. Um, but it was just me, and then it was really really hard, honestly, to kind of be like, hey, I'm a woman in the hobby. Is it okay? Like, is it all right that I'm a female?
Can I break?
And I really had to like just kind of. I have thick skin, and I'm kind of a biatch sometimes, and that's
I
maybe.
like that about you.
Sometimes.
You're a little like, yeah, I mean, we could,
Spunky.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
how
Yeah,
we
I
met.
Right.
and I am, and I shoot the
Go
crap
ahead. Go
with
ahead.
men more than I do women. Courtney is an exception of that agreement because she's my life and my wife, and
She's
Nice.
my she's my hobby wife.
she's my
That's actually
hobby
how we
wife.
met, is that we broke with her.
Mhm.
That was the first time that I met Sarah. Was Jeremy and I actually bought into a bunch of her breaks because like we enjoyed their content, and her and E like bickering back and forth kind of reminded me of me and
Pretty
Jay
much.
bickering back and forth all the time. And they ship stuff great, it was fast, and they seemed like our kind of people. And so we sort of struck up a friendship, and then she came on Hobby Night School, and that sort of solidified it. And we've become really really good friends.
Yeah.
And as time progressed, when I was like, I kind of want to do this thing, and I just threw it out there on my story one day. I was like, somebody needs to do a true crime hobby podcast. Somebody needs to do this. I didn't mean me, but I meant somebody. And then Sarah, like within 15 minutes of me putting that out, she
It
messaged me.
was
She's like,
it was shorter than that.
it was like, you're right.
It was
I
like
said within,
milliseconds.
it was
You
like,
posted it, and I was like,
I
"Let's
took it
do it."
off of my story because she's like, let's just do this.
Wow.
And then I'm like, okay, well, I don't want anyone else to get the idea, so I'm taking it back. I took it back. And then we spent, days and weeks kind of brainstorming what we wanted to call the podcast, the people that we wanted to do, kind of how we wanted it to feel, what was important to us. We had a whole conversation, you know, about how we wanted to respect the victims, because I feel like something that I have seen, there are a couple other podcasts that do sports crimes, not specifically that are building a collection about it, but that do sports crimes. Um, and a lot of them are not, they're done in a way that sort of, it felt disrespectful to me.
It's like they're re-victimizing the victims.
Yeah, and
Gotcha.
like they joke about
Yeah.
things that aren't funny, and I think it's because it's sports, and so a lot of the people that are doing it are like a little insensitive about it just because it's sports. But these are like real people who have had something horrible happen to them. And another thing is when somebody famous commits a crime or passes, if there's anyone else involved, they kind of get erased. You don't
Yeah.
remember their names. You don't know who they are. So we really do try as much as we can to shine a light on the people that are affected by these crimes as much as the athletes
Yeah.
themselves.
And
Well,
that's one thing, listening to your guys' episodes, the first three, is like you humanize the athletes, because sometimes, like you said, we put them on pedestals, and then we act like sometimes we could just say whatever we want, treat them however we want, and these unfortunate things have happened to these people, and you guys really put feelings behind it. You do your research, which is awesome. I know you guys said you kind of procrastinate, but at the end of the day, the product that you're putting out there is well researched. And the fact that you're getting all the behind the scenes, and not only just the athlete, like you said, the people behind the scenes, like for example Brian Williams, the Bison Dele, with his girlfriend, and the was the captain of the ship.
Yeah.
So I don't
Although,
want to give the episodes away, but you obviously got to listen.
yeah.
I mean, I'm intrigued. I mean, this is my wheelhouse. When it comes to this type of stuff, Tony would look at me like I'm crazy, but I'm all into true crime. I'm into horror. I'm into like all the crazy stuff. And I know Courtney, we're kind of like kindred spirits when it comes to that, Stranger Things. So, once I seen you guys were doing this, I was like, man, when is this? Sign me up. I want to hear this. And, I've already listened to all the episodes like twice. I love it. It's cool. And I'm super, super hyped that you guys are on to discuss it.
Jeremy is like Tone. He's like, I don't understand why you consume this stuff. He's like, it's horrible. Why do you want to listen to that? When we were driving somewhere one time and I was listening, because I listen to true crime podcasts when I drive all the time. And he like woke up because he was sleeping, and he woke up to like, it was very terrible. It was like an episode about a woman who like killed her husband and then like cooked his head. And he was like, what are you listening to? I'm like, I don't know, recipes.
Recipes.
Right.
Recipes to cook your ass. Yeah, get out of line.
That's
Yep.
crazy. Are there any kind of certain crimes you guys won't talk about, or is everything up for grabs for the most part?
We mostly are
I
willing
think
to talk about
everything's up.
everything. Yeah, we're more, we'll be sensitive about certain subjects. Like obviously anything that
Sure.
involves children or
Right.
you
Yeah.
know abuse in I don't want to say it because you get like in trouble, but sexual assault, stuff like that, where
SA.
you're going to have these kinds of conversations because it did happen, and it is something that needs, you need to talk about it to help prevent it from happening. I think a lot of, and we discuss this on the podcast often, you guys haven't seen all of them yet because we have like 8 in the back burner. We release one a week. We might move up to 2 just because we have so many now. But at this point, it's more or less talking about it because a lot of these people that are committing these crimes have issues that aren't being addressed because it could affect their brand or their company's brand because of them being an athlete. We talked about Bison Daly being one of the first athletes who was clinically depressed that the NBA even acknowledged, and they still don't really acknowledge it. Look what's going on with John Morant. There's all of these things that happen, and these people need help, but they don't get it because if somebody admits a weakness, it looks bad for the brand.
Gotcha. Sarah,
And
when you're like researching this stuff, like, I mean, I guess this is like you get like any type of like in your fields at all, or is it just kind of like I'm digging in on this guy and we're just gonna iron out this whole episode and business as usual?
so you froze on my end for a second there,
Oh,
so I didn't hear the question.
Repeat.
so I'll ask it again. So like when you're digging into the research for the episodes,
Yeah.
do you ever feel some type of way about the stuff you're reading, or is it kind of just you're able to just digest the research and just because that I'm just trying to put out the best podcast episode that I can.
So for me personally, when I go in pretty deep. I don't like to just touch the surface. There's quite a few of these cases that we've done that we could easily spend weeks on. We could easily spend multiple episodes on, and we kind of have to just gut out what we think isn't necessary to touch at that moment. Um, but a lot of these ones are very dense cases, and even though they're not the big profile ones like OJ or Tanya Harding or anything like that, which we will hit eventually, but we're just trying to start off with the ones that maybe are kind of not listened to anymore, and are important in the sports world. And so for me, I usually print off about 5 or 6 different articles, and then just like I'm in schools, which I love doing, highlight, underline, try to figure out kind of like where I want to take pieces of all these different articles to put together an episode. And then I type it up completely, and it's kind of just like I have a hard copy just in case something happens
Yeah.
and my computer blows up. Because I would cry for stuff. Yep, that's how I am too. And I just have a whole stack of them.
Gotcha.
I would
Here's another
die.
whole stack.
Yeah, he's like, "Can you stop taking all the paper?" And I was like, I
No.
could, but I
I'm not
need
going
it.
to. Yeah.
That's
So
why.
no, I definitely go down
Okay.
a rabbit
My
hole.
last case, I had like 13 pages of research.
Jeez. I know. I have a true crime podcast show in my rotation of shows, but I'll listen to it every once in a while, man. But I listen to it, I'm like, man, I just turn it off, and I'm like, this is too much, man. I just
Jeremy says mine is the only one that he'll listen to. And he
There
goes,
you go.
and we don't get super graphic. I think that's part of it. When you were like talking about what we won't do, I'm not gonna like some of these podcasts really go in like super depth, like
graphic
detailing
details.
graphic things.
Yeah.
We won't ever do that. That's not that to me feels more like murder porn than
Okay.
a
I
true
think
crime
anything that has
podcast.
to do with essaying kids too,
Yeah.
we will probably not touch.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, if it's like he
We
did
might
this,
say something, but that's it.
yeah, because I'm probably gonna do like the Sandusky case, and that is something
Ooh,
that
Yeah.
yeah,
You
that
can't
happened.
get around it. And I
that one
totally
hits close to
understand.
home because
That
I
hits
went to
close to
Penn
home
State.
for
I know.
yeah.
Sorry, guys.
I was there when he was there. Yeah, that's
We have
real.
one in Michigan too. Michigan
Yeah,
State.
yeah,
So
that's
Yeah.
tough.
it's bad. It's these things happen though, and without like I think you need to, especially in the sports space, because these are like, famous people. It's
Yeah,
not just like some guy who committed a crime in Ohio. It's a coach of a college team that
Yeah.
did this. So these are things that it happened. There's victims.
yeah,
It went unhandled
yeah.
for a long
Well,
time.
yeah. I mean, and Joe Paterno, he was Penn State, so
Yeah.
he knew. You know what I mean? But he put a blind eye to it, and he allowed that to happen under his watch, and it ruined his legacy. You
It did.
know,
It did.
it
And
was sad. It was because everybody adored Joe Paterno, Joe Pa. And yeah, that to this day, that just I think about how that just put a black mark on his legacy, and it's just wow.
it's
And
heartbreaking.
he could have handled that a long time before it got even to close to where it got to. He could have nipped it in the bud, and he just I don't know.
He
Sometimes
just knew
winning
to is the
with
most
a lot of
important.
these things, yeah, with sports and athletes, winning trumps everything, and they'll do whatever it takes to win, and it's sad. It's a sad thing, man.
It is. And some of these things are so crazy. Like not everything we do is murder or some horrible thing. We've done like a really cool that's something we've tried to do like a really like nice blend of like, hey, we did like a couple really heavy cases in a row that are like upsetting. So let's do something interesting and different. Like I did a bank rob or a jewelry heist. So, we talked about the Black Sox because that was a big thing and it was interesting. It happened in the 1900s. It involved the mafia. So you can't, you have to find that balance of like, it's interesting, it's intriguing, it's scandalous, it's salacious, but some of it's really horrible. And you have to acknowledge that and balance it with something that isn't so just demoralizing, I guess.
Yeah. Now, Courtney, when did you know that you were interested in the macabre? The horror and just things like this. It's normally for women and you as well, Sarah. Like that's just it would be like a taboo subject. I know for my wife, she likes to watch stuff like that. But if I ever say, "Hey, let's go see a horror movie," or "Let's watch this horror movie," because I'm all about horror movies, she's like, "No, no, 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 I don't want to watch that crap." So for you, how deep is your fascination with it? I mean, if you're listening to podcasts and you went out and said, I'm going to make a podcast about it. So obviously, it's part of you as well as it's part of me. But like, describe that. When did you know? Like, oh man, I'm pretty cool with seeing somebody get their head decapitated. Yeah.
So I'm not like in real life, I would never want to see
What?
something.
No, not in real life, but
But as far as like scary movies and like the macabre and just like freaky weird stuff, that's my mom. I've been into that my whole. The first collection I had was Garbage Pail Kids, and you don't get much grosser or weirder than that. But I grew up watching like The Hitchhiker and Pumpkinhead and like weird B-rated movies and Tales from the Crypt and all of that. Like my mom was hugely into horror and scary stuff and sci-fi and all that. So and my dad too, actually. He's very much into weird, creepy stuff. So I just grew up with like that being the norm. I'm not scared of scary movies. They have to be really, really good for me to feel even a little scared of them. Typically, I think they're funny because they're so dumb. Like Jeremy and my favorite thing to do is just sit around and watch like weird B-rated horror movies. I mean, you heard him talking about Cocaine Bear.
Yeah.
That movie was it was way gorier than I was expecting it to be. I thought it was gonna be like a dumb thing. It was really gory. So full disclosure, if you haven't seen that and you're not into gore, that is not the movie for you. But if you like that, it was so A1, perfectly well done. But yeah, I just my whole life. Sarah was talking about watching Snapped. I watched Snapped when I was in like middle school when it first came out. I was like, this is my kind of stuff. Dateline, Unsolved Mysteries, all of that. I grew up watching it, and it never. And you talked about women like feeling taboo about that kind of stuff, and I feel, I don't know, I feel the opposite. I feel like most women I know are very much into that kind of stuff, and I know more women that like murder and true crime than men. I was actually really surprised when I got our analytics back and we're like 59% men and only like 30% women, and the rest are like undisclosed, because I really thought it would be more women listening.
Interesting. Sarah, what about your background with that? Was that always something that interested you, intrigued?
Oh yeah, I grew up watching Unsolved Mysteries, Home Alone. You know, kind of question every knock on the door and every scratch on the window type of thing. Um, but I definitely like that was my homage when I was little, and I watched that until it went off the air. And any type of missing person type of situation or anything, I would just dive into it. And I'm not I wouldn't say that like scary movies scare me per se, unless they're true. You know,
Mhm.
um I think like, like Saw and all that kind of crap like that. Like, yeah, maybe there's a torture chamber somewhere, but the likelihood is pretty freaking slim. But it's like, or the movies that are based on true stories, like
Yeah.
that. As soon as it starts with that, I'm just like, cool.
I'm
Like
in.
my mind's already like, this was real at one time. It might not have looked like that, but you know, other than that, like I don't get scared easily. When I do get scared, I usually just punch the air.
She's
You
just
can
like,
ask E.
I'm gonna close my eyes and start
Yeah.
moving, and if you
Well,
hit
no, my
me,
eyes are open. I just don't scream. Like I'm not
You're
like I just don't do that. Yeah, you can ask E about the haunted house a couple of years ago.
I took my grown mother to a haunted house and she punched me in the face.
Oh
I'm like,
wow.
what are you
Oh, man.
doing?
We went to a deaf house, haunted
Death
house,
house.
and it was like the coolest thing in the world. But I had 5 shots of Jaeger before going in
Oh,
That sounds like a
jeez.
good idea.
because I just
What
don't
what
like haunted houses.
is
I
that?
don't
Is
like
that something like? I know I've heard of haunted houses. The death house. Is that something next level?
no deaf. Like the all of the people in there are deaf and they
Oh.
can't hear,
Oh.
and so it's just so there's a lot more lights and whatnot because that's their sensory. And it was so awesome, and the school put it on. But I don't like things touching me in the dark. Like I'm not scared of the dark, but I don't like things touching me in the dark.
Yeah.
You know, granted I live in Montana and I have spiders on me like probably every night, but it's like
Ew, no thank you.
I I mean I
Yeah.
don't know if I do, but it's like I see them on the traps. We've got tons of traps.
Oh,
And
Sarah, no, I'm not coming to visit you.
you'll be fine. Come during the summer, honey. You'll be
There's less
fine.
spiders in the summer? What?
Yeah, there's less. They're outside. They come in
Spiders.
during the winter when it's -30 outside. They're like, hell no.
I
But
have like pest people that come and spray all around the edges of
I
my
almost
house.
punched a kid that came out of the wall.
What?
Like,
Oh, at the haunted house. I'm like, when did a
yeah,
kid come out
because
of your
he
wall?
blended into the wall, and I was 5 shots deep in Jaeger.
Sarah,
And
you go to a school event, 5 shots deep. Terrible.
and then
Real
I was
quick.
screaming, "What the f is that?" repeatedly because, and Courtney can definitely like can relate to my crazy antics. And I've had one drink,
Just one.
just one.
Just
Just
one.
one.
I
Wow.
can't
So
remember
if
how I
you
get back
were
to my
to,
room,
real
but just
quick,
one.
before I pass it to Tone, scariest movie you've ever watched? Courtney, you first.
Scariest movie.
Ooh, I would say the scariest movie I ever saw. Okay, so there's only been one movie that I ever turned off, and I don't necessarily know if it was because it was scary, but I was pregnant with my oldest daughter, and they were like gonna eat a baby, and it was The Hills Have Eyes,
Oh yeah,
and it
yeah,
was
yeah.
that I to this day I have not finished that movie because when they were like, it was like one of those things where it was like needlessly graphic and then the
Yeah.
whole baby eating thing.
Yeah.
And I was like very pregnant and I'm like, nope, can't watch this. I turned it off.
Makes
So
sense.
that was the only movie in my life that was scary that I ever like turned
Yeah.
off. Paranormal Activity scared me a little too. I don't know why, like because I'm not really scared of ghosts, but that one was really well done. I remember being a little scared of
The
that.
first one was really good.
And
For
Blair
sure.
Witch because I was like 16 and I lived in the country and I had to drive home. And
Now,
like
did
my
you for
boyfriend at
Blair
the
Witch
time couldn't
Project, real quick? I know this is probably going to take us to a whole nother tangent, but this is quick, Tony. Honestly, did you think that was real? Because when it first came out, they had come out like it, the way they set it up, it was like just these kids in the woods that filmed this stuff, and they really never said it was like filmed.
How old are you?
Old enough. 47.
You are not. I think am I older than you? I feel like because I
Are
knew
you
it
older
was
than me?
I knew it wasn't real. I remember thinking like
When
it
it
could be.
first came out, because I had seen it on a bootleg. So this was before it came
Oh,
out in
see,
the
I saw it in
movie.
the theater. I
Yeah.
didn't see it on
Yeah,
a
this was
bootleg.
before it all came out. So it was on a bootleg and they're like, "Yo, you got to check this thing out. It's crazy.
I
It's
wasn't
real
as
and
cool
everything."
as you.
So I'm watching Blair Witch Project like it's real. Like it was just a bunch of kids, and I'm like, "Holy shit."
That
My
would be
mind was blown.
terrifying.
Yeah. And then I
That would be
found that it was fake.
terrifying.
So, Sarah, what about you?
I don't know. Maybe Annabelle.
Annabelle was pretty freaky. I mean, if
Um,
you're into that kind of stuff, yeah.
Something that's all screwed up like that ain't cool.
And that was real?
Yeah, we'll take that
Allegedly.
with a grain of salt.
Allegedly.
I'm not gonna go to the house and ask it if it is. I
Well,
mean,
the
that's
the
cool.
doll is still out there.
I thought the real
It's sealed
doll
up.
was way
You
scarier
can
than
go
the fake
tour
doll.
the house.
No,
Yeah.
thank you.
It's like
I do not
I'll
claim
see it
that
from the
under
road. I look at Google. I saw it. It looks great. That's one thing
Amityville
I
Horror
don't
was
mess
pretty
with
horrible too.
is ghosts. I don't. I kind of believe in them, but only because we have recordings of things happening in our old home when we
Mhm.
weren't home, and we have security. Like it was hardcore lockdown, so like any type of motion would set off our alarms, and yet there's doors opening and stuff like that. So like I kind of believe in that, but I don't believe in the crooked naked people on the ceiling, and and another one would probably be Slender Man, and that's only because my
It's in
husband
Wisconsin.
is a jerk and is like in my ear telling me like, "Oh, Slender Man," and blah 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 blah, blah, and he's gonna do this, and then he like shows up, and so it's like you're painting like this horror story in my head when I'm watching this stupid guy who's skinny in the woods and is like has no face, and what the heck? So yeah, that would be another one. Yeah, I should have had E on here.
Oh, that was funny, Sarah.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to be exiting stage left for the rest of this
Poor
podcast.
Tone's gonna have bad dreams now.
So
Oh, sorry.
Tony's soft.
let me ask you, Sarah, I'll ask you first. So how does all this madness affect your PC? Be it, are you collecting any of this? I know Courtney dabbles in it, but are you
So
collecting any of these people you're talking about or anything like that?
yeah, I have actually. I think the only one that I have not gotten was strawberry,
Mhm.
only because Courtney says she has strawberry. But I have like Air McNair. I'm doing this week. I have Pat Tillman will be the one that I'll be doing. And that's why I was asking for that card because I've pulled it and I really wanted it too, but I am not paying $5,500 for that card. So, I mean, it's not necessarily just cards. I've been buying just like pictures that are autographed or like things like that to go with our collection. Um, but it's kind of hard for some of them because a lot of them are older or
Yeah.
they were in the sports scenery but didn't get a card or didn't get this or didn't get that. So photos are kind of all you got but yeah, definitely that's the fun part is spending money on more card and sports related stuff that you can't get mad at me about.
One of the cases we just did, and I'm not going to say which one it is because I'll put pictures up and stuff of it. Um, parts of the house where the crime took place went up for auction, and
What?
people bought it.
Oh
Which
God,
I find horrifying. That is one thing, like, because if you want to talk about the collectible space
the
when it comes
chimney.
to murder things, there are, Jeffrey Dahmer,
Mm-mm.
John Wayne Gacy, Manson, they all produced books and artwork and things that went out to the general public and people purchase. And I cannot get behind that. I do
Nope.
not understand the glorification of the actual, murderer.
Bad juju.
It's
Yeah.
just it's disrespectful. And
Yep.
I will, like, you can have a conversation about like a collectible space being inappropriate, and I would say purchasing something because a serial killer painted it is, or it belonged, it was a t-shirt that they wore, is so disgusting to me.
Yeah. There was an auction a few years ago of certain of pieces of a certain plane. I'm not gonna say which plane it was, but some of that stuff got sold and bought and stuff. And yeah, I think that's where you get a little too. That's a little bit much for me.
I
The
agree.
cards and stuff like that, I get that, but the actual
Too much
pieces of
greed.
things, yeah, that's
It's also
Mm-mm.
like weirdly gross to be that fascinated with somebody who did some of these heinous things.
yeah,
I mean, in some sense, I can kind of understand it if you're that like engulfed in the crime. Like, how cool it would be to have like a dollar bill of this or that. You know what I mean? But the bloodstain items or the chimney or some crap like that. Nope.
There are people,
Nope. Bad
I
juju.
listen to a lot of true crime podcasts. We talk about this, and one of my favorites is Morbid, and they often will talk about like older cases, pre 1950, let's say, and even some in the 50s, but before 1950. If a murder happened, half the town would walk through the house and look at the dead bodies,
Yep.
like laying out, and they would like take pieces out of the house of these murder victims, and they would like keep them as like, I don't know, weird, like macabre mementos of like, hey, I was in that house and those people got killed. Like literal axes from like axe murderers, like the Ripper from the New Orleans Ripper or whatever. His axe is like up and being displayed. I don't understand that. I don't get. And I understand people's fascination with history. I understand people's fascination with like trying to understand why people do the things that they do. But collecting it is a little, my collection ends at like the cards of these
Yeah.
guys.
Where would
I
you put this? Over your dinner room table so you can
Oh,
talk about it over coffee and donuts? Like,
here's a knife from Jack the Ripper, we think.
here's a bag from the Green River Killer, which is interesting. I actually did search and rescue when I was younger, and we worked that case.
Oof.
And it was a high profile case. We couldn't talk about it for about 3 months until after the newspaper got whiff of it. But we were searching for pieces, bones. I mean, I've seen a lot of dead bodies in real life. I worked for the sheriff's office when I was 14 till I was 19 or 18, excuse me.
14, Sarah. That seems
That's
crazy.
young. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's cool.
Yeah. No, I mean,
I'm
most
not
people would think
arguing.
that was too young for
and it's
Seeing dead
Montana,
bodies.
baby.
Oh, I mean,
Montana.
I
That's a
saw. I
rite of
mean, there was a
passage.
guy that went up into the mountains up to Mount Hood, up by Zigzag, took his dog, shot himself, and
Oh
we
no.
were pulling his body out. So,
Jeez.
I mean, it's kind of like I've seen it.
I'm
Courtney's
sorry for
like,
the turn that this podcast took, but totally
Courtney's
hear
like,
it.
I
I
am
totally
definitely not getting on
understand.
your crap list. Um,
I'm like, oh my God, Sarah.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm just telling you who I am. Like, that's why I like this stuff, because
Yeah.
I used to go out and recover people. We never
I
found
never did
anybody
anything like
alive,
that.
which, that's the hard part about search and rescue.
Yeah.
But
So do you want to see some of my cards?
Sure. What you got?
why are you done with my cards? When you get some of my cards, screw you.
So give us a little bit of who that is, and just a quick, and you don't have to spoil it with if there's stuff that you guys haven't talked about yet, but just little teaser of the first few episodes or whatever you
Yeah.
guys.
So, did you bring yours, Sarah? Because I don't have one of the next one. So we have
Girl, it's upstairs.
Bison.
Nobody told me I'd be bringing things to this. You yelled at me for being late.
Bison Daily. He was Brian Williams. He was our first episode. His
That's my autograph.
yeah, his brother was jealous
That
of
was the
him.
coolest. That was a cool one.
Yeah, I
And then
like
we
that.
have Mr. Strawberry, and this is cool too because I also collect art cards.
I love
So having one like this with done by an artist that I like is cool.
Oh,
And
I
then,
can pull mine up from eBay that I bought.
and then I have this is my oldest card, and our last episode was Red Downs, Jerry
Red
Downs.
Downs, yep.
He played for the Tigers when they lost to the Cubs in the World Series.
And then I did Rico, and there is nothing for Rico.
No, I was actually editing that episode before we jumped on to this.
And
'cause that's
then
tomorrow.
Nice.
Lorenz, wait, you're next.
And then this is a card that has nothing to do with the player on it, but this is, if you look here, you can see the Menendez brothers, and I know tons of people have done
Oh yeah.
stuff about this.
Yeah,
But
so that's
this-
a Mark,
murderers.
Mark Jackson
This
hoops card.
in my opinion, is so interesting because this card would be worth 10 cents, but because of people on the card,
On it. Yep.
the card is now
Yeah, so the Menendez brothers had already killed their parents.
they were using
and-
their money.
Yeah, they're
Go-
using their money. They're going all around, and they just happen to get courtside seats at the Knicks. And it's so crazy. They're taking a picture of Mark Jackson, and here these guys are chilling in the background after killing their parents. Like, no big deal.
I posted that card, and they have fans. The Menendez brothers have hardcore fans, and they came at me. They're like, that's not them. I'm like, Lyle did an interview where he confirmed that it was in fact them on the card. He said, yes, that's us. We went to that game. That is us.
So there's
So
people defending them.
yes, defend that. They argue that their dad abused them, which
Yeah.
he's not here to say whether he did or not. But there are people who are very sympathetic towards them, and they will very, very vehemently defend those guys. But I'm not saying anything that they didn't say. If they want to recant it, they can. But they did say it was them, and I mean, if you look at it's them. It's
Yeah,
them.
there's no question
So-
about that. So real quick, guys, as far as podcasts and everything like that, besides Cousins Collectibles, which we know is your favorite podcast that you guys listen to all the time, obviously, what other podcasts do you guys listen to when it comes to things like this, the macabre, murder mysteries, crimes of passion, or even paranormal? Do you guys have a little playlist? I know you talked about the true crime one. What are you guys listening to?
Well, outside of Too Thick, which is my number one favorite podcast.
Oh, okay. I
Of
thought
all
we were
times, and
number one.
everybody-
Okay, so it's Too Thick, then us, then
Then you,
Right,
yeah,
gotcha.
and then
I'm
and
neutral.
then Reckless, and then Dangerous Games is after that. You guys are you and
Hold
Too Thick
up.
are fourth.
Why in the heck are we last?
Because I don't like to listen to my own podcast. I don't like the sound of my voice. So sorry for everybody that's listening to me talk, because I can't listen to myself back. And I edit all of our podcasts. It's like torture to have to go through and re-listen and edit and add pictures and stuff, because I hate the way that I sound. So I actually wrote them down because I didn't want to forget my favorite podcasts that I listen to. If you like true crime like we do, and if you're listening to this episode about true crime, I imagine you might. My number one favorite is Morbid, and then my favorite murder is a really good one. Crime Junkies is another great one. If you're not into the really horrible crimes that sometimes come up on those kind of podcasts, then you might like Ridiculous Crimes, and that's another podcast, but it's just about weird random stuff. I like them because it's a little less horrible. And then Small Town Dicks, and it's actually the chick who does the voice for one of the characters on The Simpsons. And you say dick is an old word.
I get that, but it just we were listen, we're immature little boys. If you're gonna say anything like that, we're gonna laugh.
Sophomore humor.
Yeah,
So those ones are good. The last two are more for people who are they just want to maybe dip their toes into the true crime scene, but they don't want to really like the full brunt of some of the horrible stuff.
Yeah. Sarah?
For me, I don't really have a whole lot of time to listen to anything. I usually have a 4-year-old who's screaming my name or, destroying my kitchen 99.9% of the time. But I have started listening to Morbid. Um, and it's awesome. I love it. For me, it's hard for me to hear other people talk too. Like, I don't like hearing myself talk, but I don't like hearing people also say stories again. Like, I just want to watch a show. Like, I want to get engulfed. I want to see it. So I'm a very visual person. So it's like hearing it is great, but I'm not saying I want to see somebody get murdered. Like, that's not what I'm saying, but like just
Like
the
the
detail.
documentary's better.
Right. I mean, that's how I am. That's why I always have a documentary on, and usually that means that my kid isn't out with me because I don't need him learning any of that at 4.
Yeah, I got you.
Crazy.
Now, me being a mailman, only thing I get to do, because I don't obviously can't carry a TV around with me or watch my phone, so I just have my earbuds in. But I like to listen to, I don't know if you've ever heard of Lore. It's with Aaron Mankey. So it's just like a podcast about like dark historical tales. So each thing they talk about mysterious creatures, events, tragic things that happen, but it's all from history that's just been passed down. And it'll be some crazy stuff that like say the New Jersey Devil, you've heard of it. And he just goes and says, okay, let's see why people were talking about the New Jersey Devil, what it possibly could have been. And they talk about anything, grave robbers, the whole nine, all throughout history, all the crazy stuff that has become, lore. And then another cool one that I like is Real Ghost Stories Online. And it's actually a dad and his daughter. His daughter's like 9 years old. And they do crazy stuff. They'll go to like a cemetery and they got all the little gadgets that, like almost
Yeah,
Ghostbuster type
I'm
stuff.
good.
The
And yeah, but
Ghostbusters.
like the 9-year-old girl's funny as hell. She's real charismatic, and here she is just talking about ghosts, like nonchalant, and it's just crazy.
No,
Yeah, but
It's a good way to
it's
get your
funny.
kids not to be scared of stuff if you just like
Yeah,
normalize
and
it.
the whole thing is just people calling in. And what happens is people call in and they just tell their stories, and you can hear from their perspective. Sometimes he just reads it, but like their true ghost stories. So it's like every day he has over like 6,000 episodes. People just call up
gee,
randomly and just talk about ghosts. So it definitely fills the time while I'm doing my mail.
Tone's like, this is like the worst episode we've ever done. He just sat there the whole
Bro,
time like,
I'm
really?
surrounded by I don't even
Oh,
know.
He's like,
whatever.
you people are crazy.
Look,
You people
Tony's
need
full of shit because he listens to, true crime, but it's the mafia. So if it's the mafia, it's cool. He can talk
yeah.
about, oh
Well, then
yeah.
you'll like that when I do this episode.
What's that?
This
Oh,
this
the
is
Black
Chick
Sox?
Yandel. He
Oh,
was the ringleader of the Black Sox throwing the
yeah.
World Series, and we
See?
did an episode about that.
Right. But all the like you people are crazy, man. I don't like I listen to that, but it's like they ran a numbers racket. Nobody got chopped
are
and thrown
we
in the river.
crazy or are you crazy?
You know
Because
what?
you're not
Yeah,
on
you
the
know what?
same
No, yeah, you're
level
right.
as
Because I don't
us.
even want to offend you three at all. Like I don't even want you
You
three to
don't.
be even bothered in the least. So yes, I am absolutely out of my mind. You
Yeah.
guys are
You're soft,
I
bro. You're
I
soft.
know
yeah.
somebody who has the availability of buying lime.
See, I am not messing around with you
That
three.
John
No,
Wayne Gacy style.
that is. Let me ask you, Oz. I'm gonna flip flop these two because you're the
Go ahead.
expert on the other one. So, what do you guys, Sarah? I'll start with you first.
Mm.
Besides all these special people that you're talking about, I'm just gonna leave it like that. What
Awesome.
else are you collecting? I mean, I know you're doing the breaking thing, but what's your PC look like besides these people?
Well, I have this really big picture with an autograph of LT jersey. Yeah, there's a long story behind that.
Okay,
But I'm a Giants fan, New York Giants
That's right.
through and through. My husband has an issue and is a Cow Pukes fan. So our house is literally silent on Sundays. He's trying to corrupt my kids. I have photos to prove that he can't. So um but yes, I'm a Giants fan for football. And that does not mean please send me all your base. I have enough of that. Thank you. I don't there whenever I say, "Hey, I'm looking for Giants cards," everybody's like, "Oh, I have all these. You want them?" No, please.
yeah.
Like I don't like I like Giants, but I don't collect them as hard as I do Nasir Little from the Trailblazers because we're also Blazer fans.
Okay.
Um, and I'm a University of Oregon fan. Go Ducks.
Gotcha.
Let's see here. So, yeah, that's my thing. I don't have a baseball team because baseball hates me and I'm still learning. But I don't have a hockey team even though I live in Montana. Um, so yeah, I mean,
Okay.
that's my thing. A PC hard. This is the dumbest thing ever. But is those Goodwin cards that Courtney didn't find
Dude,
any.
I asked everyone at every show that I've been to.
It's
Everyone's like, I don't
okay.
even know what that is.
It's okay.
I was pulling them up on my phone, being like, "This? Do you
I
have
know.
this?"
I need this whole list. Yeah, the animal
Oh,
playing
okay.
cards.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm
I
like, "Do
got
you
like
have a funky elephant?" And they're like,
do,
Okay.
do you know where the penguin might be?
"We're looking for a penguin, a mad penguin."
And
Wow.
so my daughter was like, "Oh, mom, these are really cool." And so I was like, "Oh, okay." I sent them to PSA, got them graded, and then I was like, "Oh, these are really cool now." And so, I think we're like, I don't know, more than halfway done with them, but they're not easy to come by. So I like stupid things like that. We do
Yeah.
garbage pail kids. We do all the crazy stuff, but you know, I'm not necessarily having to do sports.
Yeah.
Don't ask me to break Pokemon though. I had somebody ask me that the other day. I was like, I don't even know how you break that by element. Like, I don't even know.
Oh yeah, I get. Yeah, I
And then
understand.
it's like at that point, it's like, hey, this is you get a tree, you got the pig. I don't know what the hell its name is. Like that's literally what it would be. My daughter loves Pokemon, but no,
I
no,
gotcha.
sir.
Hmm.
And Funkos. I have a really bad obsession with Funkos.
I have a problem with Funkos these
Oh
days too. I
boy,
don't pick
man,
them up.
you
And
guys are
I
like,
can order them for cheap, and that makes it really bad.
Yeah,
They just came out with
that's
this
the
Pokemon
problem.
Mirror. They are. You can get them for like nothing.
Yeah.
wow.
I
Yeah.
love them. They're so adorable.
I'm definitely the odd man out in this group. I love it. You guys are like, I guess, you guys are like a gang.
Well, and we
Courtney.
collect coins too. E
Oh,
collects
jeez.
coins, which
I
is
I collect
fun.
sports. Like RPC is obviously Bulls.
Right.
We got the Jordan. We collect, every Bulls rookie that has been a disappointment ever. We have all of them.
I'm right
He
there with you with
will
every
be in the
jailblazer.
house.
I think
Everyone.
Patrick Williams is the one I'm hanging my hopes on. Obviously, you guys know that. Bears. I collect like 85 Bears, but not like they're rookies because I can't. Some of those are so expensive, but also I just like the weird ones. Like I have a piece of like the goalpost from the 85
Mhm.
Super Bowl for like Perry, and I have like a Smash Mike Singletary card. Like it looks like the Kabooms before there was a Kaboom. I'm really into that. I collect all the top
Beautiful.
art cards. Obviously, I really like the Project 70, the Spotlight 70,
Mhm.
Project 2020, those. But I don't collect the players or a team. I collect the artists that I like.
Yep.
Okay.
So it's like a weird, different way
Who-
that you can collect
Who's your
something.
favorite artist from the 2020?
Oh, I really like, well, from the 2020, I like Alex Pretty, but my favorite is probably Andy Friedman. And he had the Spotlight 70 where he had that set, which was so dope. And I got to meet him in like real life recently. So that was
I
super.
love Lauren. I've met Lauren. She's
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I
a
have.
sweetheart. Lauren
I love
Taylor.
her style. I have the Clemente where like she does an awesome job. We're talking about Lauren Taylor. If anybody doesn't know, she does the
Yeah.
drawing and then inside of the player, it's like the city or something else.
The
Really cool
scenery
style.
or something. Yep.
Yeah, really cool.
There are so many really great artists. For like a while, I was going hard with this is the strawberry. That's how I ended up with this was the Gregory Sif because all of his stuff looks like graffiti. And I was really like, it's all drippy and it was cool. So I just, I like Snoop Dogg did a card. I got hit a couple. I got his.
Snoop Doggy
So
Dog.
there's like a lot of cool. I don't know. I'm just like I'm deeply immersed in the hobby. So like anything that I can find where it like both it suits that like need to collect something, but also like my fascination with different intricate parts of the hobby in general. I find that like that's my favorite part.
Cool
Gotcha.
things. We collect cool things.
Yes. And that's what I
But
love
we
about you
can't
guys and what
tell
you
you what.
guys are doing. You know, a lot of people might listen to this and think we're crazy, deranged, insane, but that's not true. There's a lot of people out there that are just like us. I was born the day after Halloween on All Saints Day. My mom, I always tell the story, my mom kept me in. She did not want me born on Halloween. She was holy, and Catholic, and the last thing she wanted was a baby on Halloween. She was real big into. I don't know if you guys ever seen Rosemary's Baby.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Where the basically baby, she has been, giving birth to the devil, basically. So yeah, that was one of my mom's old school movie. Like my mom is funny as hell because she's Catholic and she's, holy, but then she was the first one putting on The Exorcist, Rosemary's Baby, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, the whole nine. And she'd be like, come on, let's watch this. And I'm looking at her like, what? First time I seen Exorcist, I was like 5 years old. That scared the shit out of me still to this day.
My mom
Uh,
traumatized me at 5 with Pumpkinhead, and then that is a terrible movie. And no 5-year-old should probably watch that, but I did. And then she used to say that I sat too close to the TV, and I'm old. We had one of those TVs that was like in a wood box that you had to like turn the
Yep.
knob.
Yeah.
So I would sit on the floor like right in front of it and watch it, and like you had the fuzzy channels because back then we only had like 6 channels. And she used to tell me that the TV monsters would come out of the TV and get me if I didn't move back because I was sitting too close. So I never listened. And one day my older cousin and her turned on a fuzzy channel and put my cousin's foot up against the TV and told me that and started screaming that the TV monsters got her. I still remember. I am like much older now. It's like 30 years ago. I still remember how I felt in that moment when I thought my cousin was getting pulled into the TV.
Yeah.
So this is, if you're wondering why I am the way I am, this is
Yeah.
why.
See that watching that stuff at a young age didn't affect you guys at all today. You guys are just fantastic.
You know what? We are golden.
Yeah, you guys are
You know why?
fantastic.
We can assimilate to anything, Tony. Just because you and Jeremy are two punks and two pussies that can't watch a scary
And I
movie.
eat my meat raw. I don't burn it like a hockey puck, okay?
Oh, I'm with you with that. Listen, Jeremy, Jeremy, you're a caveman with that. You need to, at least step the game up a little bit,
Just
to
knock
stop.
its horn off and put it on the freaking plate. Like, let's get real here.
Oh,
And cheese. I eat cheese. Apparently, that's a big thing too.
Really?
this is like a new thing on every podcast that we're on. As everybody is so fascinated with the way Jeremy eats. And when we first started dating, I remember he told me he was picky, and I was like, people are picky. I had no idea. No idea. He is.
He
So-
hates coconut if you want to come at him in Vegas.
He doesn't like anything.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like he doesn't like anything.
No, I mean E. E doesn't like coconut.
He despises coconut.
Yeah. Oh, the texture.
Oh, he's one of those guys.
He's perfect and wonderful, and I adore him. And
I
he can
love
eat his food however he likes.
I love your husband.
First off, though, you're talking about E, and I
No.
was like,
E.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far.
I'm scared of E. I don't know E, but I'm kind of scared of him.
He's so stoic. I like him.
He's a pain in my ass.
So
Now, before we leave, it would be remiss on my part to not mention Stranger Things, our obsession with it, and how excited are you for the Zero Cool? Now, we just had the Butcher Billy set that just came out that we ripped a couple of these things, but I'm really excited about the Zero Cool stuff. So talk to me about how you think. I just heard, or we got that. What was
the redemption. So I was talking to Aaron from Slab Stocks, and he told me that there's actually 2 drops. There's like a paper drop, and then there's like the Hellfire drop.
So what are the differences?
I'm hoping that I hope our redemption is for the Hellfire drop because I feel like that's supposed to be the higher end. And I'm not 1,000% certain on this, but this is sort of what I've been hearing. And I like, frankly, I will rip anything Stranger Things that comes out. I was so excited. Me and Amelia, the night that the Billy Butcher set came, we ripped all 6 boxes immediately. And I was like, oh, we'll go live. We'll do this. No, I went live. I ripped like 2 boxes, and then I'm like, we need to like degen this, and I just want to get through it as fast as I can so I can see these cards. They were so cool. The lenticular set. I like that they've really leaned into making them feel old school, like they're 80s cards, because they've been so accurate depicting that throughout the series of the show.
Nice. Oh, sorry. There you go. We'll plug that in. Sarah, do you collect that stuff?
No.
All right, good.
No, that is not my cup of tea.
Have you watched the show?
No. Do I? Okay, we had this conversation on our podcast. Do I watch movies? No.
It's
Not
not
a
a
Do I
movie.
movie,
watch
it's a
TV?
show. It's a show. And you could watch that instead of like one documentary
No.
a day.
I would rather watch Snap. I would rather
You've
take
seen every
notes.
episode of Snap by now.
Probably.
They're not making new ones.
Well, I
Wow.
tried watching Dr. Phil the other day, and that lasted all about 2 minutes.
Ew, he's gross. No, thank you. Pass.
He's creepy. I like it. He's
It's
stupid.
wild. So, ladies, before we get out of here, let everybody know where they can find you, your show. Sarah, I'll start with you first. Instagram, all that good stuff. Floor is yours.
Oh, all right. Well, I am Miss Squirts underscore cards on Instagram. I believe it's tied to my Facebook. I'm not ever on it, but there's a Facebook too. Twitter, I believe, is Break with Squirt. I do have a TikTok, but once again, I'm not on it. I just watch the videos of other idiots in this world. Um, not you. Knew you're gonna do that. And other than that, I mean, that's where I'm at. I'm usually on Instagram. You want to find me? I'm on Instagram. Oh, Whatnot. I'm on Whatnot as well. Yeah. So if you need stands, I'm collabed with Stand Up Display. I'm also connected to Zion Cases as well. So that's me. And then Dangerous Games is both of ours, and I'm Courtney can hit that one.
So if you would like to follow me, I am Reckless Cards on Instagram, also Facebook, TikTok, Twitter.
What was that? That little
If there's a social media, we have it for Reckless Cards, and it's Reckless Cards. We have our little flame logo. You can't miss us. Also, you got to check out Too Thick. That's my husband and Manny. Manny being Manny, he's awesome. And then obviously Dangerous Games. That's why we're here to talk. And we are also on TikTok and Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. And it's Dangerous Games, little circle with a thumbprint. And we will respond to you.
YouTube.
Please follow us. We just have a brand new Instagram, and I think we only have like 14 followers or something. So please come follow us
on
Yeah.
YouTube.
on everything.
We have
YouTube, yes, YouTube. You can also listen to us on anywhere you stream podcasts.
Don't we have
if you
like
don't like the-
108 followers on Instagram?
Yeah, we only have 14 on YouTube.
Yeah, okay. I was
So
like, what'd you
14
do?
YouTube
Delete people?
subscribers.
Yes,
there you
we're new. We actually get more listens right now on podcast form versus
Like
like
Apple and
YouTube. Like
whatnot.
we have way more subscribers to like
Yeah.
Apple and Spotify, which I wasn't expecting because we like the videos. I do a lot of work to make sure there's pictures of the people and you can see like everything. So I was kind of expecting people to watch it more than listen, but people like to listen. So
Hey.
I've been trying to be more mindful when we do the actual podcast and we're talking to really describe things better. So the people who are listening have a better idea of what we're talking about. Because I was not anticipating people listening as much as they do. So thank you for that, guys, everyone.
Yes, very.
Yeah.
thankful.
Yeah, and that's one thing you guys, like I said, you put together a quality piece of material there with, especially the video, like you said, you do the clips and all that, which is cool. But yeah, you just got to be cognizant because there is a lot of people. I think it might just be, when you're listening to these podcasts, like you said, the true crime, it's just another podcast to listen to. So that might be the way they're going. And for me, I know I can't watch it while I'm delivering the mail, so I usually listen to it. But either way, you're doing both forms, and they're both very well made. So it was a pleasure having you guys on. I know Tony it's not in his element, but for me, I was like digging everything. So, there's two types of people in this world: the cool and the not cool. And we just happen to be, the three of us happen to be fall into that cool category. And you have the softies that they get offended by stuff or scared. It's like, come on,
I'll make
So-
sure to send you some monster spray.
So, national coming up. I know that's Courtney. That's in your backyard, and Sarah, I'm 99% sure I heard we will be there. I think you're set up too, right?
Not at
Somewhere.
Nats. I'm set up at the
Okay.
Mint.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Anywho, we will be in the same building at the same time, and we're all gonna go in a dark alley and just see who
Who
flinches.
survives?
Yep. See who flinches first. I'm jumping on Jeremy's back. You guys are all on your own.
You are wrong with that one, sir, because if there's bumps in the night, guess who's getting up and checking the house out?
Yep.
Yeah,
Bang,
but yo, go
bang.
ahead, sucker. If you survive,
Bang
then I'm
bang,
good.
Courtney gang.
Ladies, once
No, but-
again, appreciate you
yeah.
guys joining us, man. This was fun. This is a little different. Like I said, it's not always got to be sport. I mean, I like it because you guys tie it back into the hobby or collectible somehow. So it's all kind of like works hand in hand with those of us who collect. So um, I definitely will not be going out buying hatchets, knives. Like Oz has a. You guys know he has a machete. Like guy's a
Yes, I've
weirdo,
seen
man.
his machete.
Yeah, dude's
Don't
But I
a
don't
we
think
weirdo.
it's
all?
killed anybody, right?
Yeah.
It's just a
Wait.
machete.
Do you not have a
It's just
machete?
a huge,
No, I do
the real
not.
machete that was signed by
Oh.
the original Jason from Friday the 13th.
Oh,
That
well,
is super
that's some
dope.
freaking
That's
cool ass
really
shit.
cool.
Yeah,
right
Ari
there.
Lehman. So I got a hockey mask and a machete signed by him, which is pretty
It's
cool.
but it wasn't used in a murder. I mean, we've got
No,
machetes here too.
no.
We
I
don't know that.
carry. I
We
mean,
don't know that. It's like, yeah. See,
I
look,
tell you
that's
what.
why I got real quiet here, real quick. We don't know that.
I tell you what. When I go to Montana,
Allegedly.
I'm checking out
Allegedly.
Mrs. Squirt. She's gonna take me on some body recoveries and something like that.
heck yeah.
Sicko.
I'll go take you up to the woods and I'll leave you there too.
There you go.
with your camera.
It's like, it goes from murder crime to like naked and afraid real quick.
I won't be afraid. I know what's up there. I
She'll
ain't
be naked
staying.
though.
It's just dropping you off.
Oh,
I've
so much
seen
for
those
that.
grizzly bears and those black bears. I ain't staying up there.
Apex predator, sir. Apex
There you
predator.
go. What?
Ugh.
There you go. Oz. Take us
Cocaine
home.
bear. But yeah, cool, loved it. And we're just gonna go ahead and finish this like we always do, and that's keep focused, keep positive, and keep collecting. Hey, yo, Tone, stop being a punk and bring the music back.
And keep alive. Bye.